This is Newsmax TV. I'm Ashley Martella, and we're very pleased to be joined by Oklahoma Senator Tom Coburn. As you may know, Tom Coburn is not a lawyer like the majority of his fellow lawmakers. He's a medical doctor, specifically an obstetrician. He's a maverick in many ways, not the least of which is he doesn't care about being popular or even being reelected. He cares, he says, about being correct on the issues. Welcome to Newsmax, Senator.
Thank you. Good to be with you, Ashley.
Okay. Among the things you target most are earmarks. Now, Obama's health care plan, what do you know about it so far?
Well, I think the plan is to mandate that people have to be in coverage. Number two is to create a government-run health insurance program to allow people to buy when they can't buy in the market. And if you think about that for a minute, if you can buy something from the government cheaper, you can buy it in the private market will cease to exist. And so people who have good programs today will end up having a program run by government bureaucrats from Washington rather than one that emphasizes their choice and their personal selection and their health care.
Is there talk about a provision to deny health care to certain vulnerable people, most notably elderly?
No, there's not any talk about it, but the implication is if you think through, we do have a problem in healthcare. We need to have a good response to where we can guarantee access for everybody, where we can create a situation where personal choice and selection by individuals of the healthcare they need and want is affordable to them. But the ultimate result of every government-run healthcare program throughout the world is rationing. Well, where do most of the expenses come from? From our senior citizens. Where will we make most of the cuts? Most of the cuts will come from our payments on those senior citizens. So you ultimately will end up with a form of rationing that will have a tremendous impact on care.
All right, your colleague, Senator Charles Grassley, says health care reform must be made in a fiscally responsible way. Senator Coburn, what does fiscally responsible mean to you?
Well, to me, I'm not sure what it means to him. What it means to me is when we spend $2.4 trillion today on healthcare as a nation, and we have 48 million people who don't have basic coverage, and we know that out of that 2.4 trillion, about 700 billion, or somewhere between a third and a fourth, doesn't help anybody get well and doesn't prevent anybody from getting sick. It means we don't need to increase the amount of taxes on the American people to do this. What we need to do is let great forces of individual choice and personal responsibility guide us.
You voted against confirming Kathleen Sibelius as Secretary of Health and Human Services. Why?
Two reasons. The first is the assumption that somebody that's a career politician has the management capabilities to run an organization like HHS is just confounding to me and probably most other people when they stop and think about it. Most politicians aren't good managers. That we wouldn't be in the mess we're in if they were. The second point is her position on late-term abortion and the fact that she can't find it in her mind that we ought to have a second opinion. We ought to be able to have that stuff discovered when we're terminating the life of a totally viable infant.
Senator Arlen Specter switching parties again to give the Democrats a supermajority in the Senate. Are you disappointed in your colleague?
No, what people ought to ask out of this is why do people do those kind of things? And he was very straightforward. He said, I'm changing parties so I can run for re-election so I can still be a senator. And that's the disease that infects Washington. What it tells you is that me being a senator is more important than the country, the policies, and the principles that I've run my life on. And so therefore, I'll do whatever's necessary to stay here. And that's the disease. That's why I'm a term-limited senator.
And finally, a question I'm sure a lot of people are asking from time to time. Do you think there should be more doctors and fewer lawyers in the Senate?
Well, I think there should be more everything and fewer lawyers in the Senate. There should be more school teachers, more accountants, more firemen, more retired military. And what we need, I believe, in Congress is to go back to the idea that even though career politicians, it's admirable to have public service, you lose a range of experience and perspective if the only thing you've ever done is hold elective office. And we've assumed that people in elective office can reference past experiences to make good judgments for us. And the past experiences that politicians have is how do you compromise every time to make yourself look good, rather than to accomplish the greatest, best goal for the country. And so I think the change in the mix, both in terms of parties, I think parties hurt us. I think they tend to cloud our principles. We tend to run in herds, whereas good original thought, true philosophical debate, not being afraid to have a debate even though people are going to use political correctness on you, to have those fundamental debates so that we can actually talk about the real issues rather than the name calling and the labeling that so often happens in Washington.
Oklahoma Senator Tom Coburn, thank you so much for spending time with us at Newsmax.
Glad to do it.
And thank you for watching Newsmax TV.